So yesterday, hi everyone. So basically, yesterday we went through this question answer, but sake expecting if you can go with a practically demo. Okay, regarding like a first question, I'm saying like how do you identify query that need optimization? Okay,
Okay.
let me check. Okay, S- so basically, what is our goal here? How we got to know which queries we have to go for the tuning. Okay, so we have a multiple, you can say, parameter. First parameter I'm saying we have to go through with a plan, execution plan. Okay, and in execution plan, if query subtree cost are high, on basis of that we can go for the, you can say, tuning. First point I'm saying, you can say table scan nested loop is happening, or maybe it's a, if I can add here RID lookup, RID key and RID lookups
Okay.
or missing this index detail. So how we can let me go with a practical demo so that I can show you how you got to know we have to go for the query. You can say some indexing or scan or seek. So I already capture one query. Okay, in advance. Let me go to type basically. Missing query. So basically, this is a straightforward query. Here is a sales order header, and here is a detail basically. So we are making with a joining because it's just like a sales and sales order details, and we have a product category, subcategory. So let's suppose if I will go with a executing this query, and if I can turn on execution plan. So if you can check, you got to know some missing index detail here is there. Okay, but let's say ignore this missing index, and we have to go with on basis of, you can say, execution plan. So how you can start your execution plan scan? So basically you have to start from the right. So here is a plus sign if you able to see, and you have to go scroll right. So in a first query, you can see it's a cluster index scan. Yeah. So first, it's a physical operation is a cluster index scan, and cluster index scan logical operation is happening. It means whatever index you created, those index, this query is not following. So that's why they are going with the index scan. Here you can say it's an index seek. Then we have to ignore this point. They are doing nested loop join because both data set is a master table, you can say. Product, product category and second table is a, both are, you can say, it's a master table only. So if you can maximize, minimize on basis of control and scroll up and scroll down on basis of your like a visibility. So this is a product category table. Here is a correct indexes they are using. And index is a PK product category. Second, if we can go with another like a control, they are going with a nested loop, and some cases here is a index scan also. And this table is called product basically. And product table, they are using indexes is PK product ID basically. If I can scroll here, it's an index scanning for sales order detail. And first one, this one is a sales order header. So this is also going with the index scan. And final query, if you can check, it's a sub-tree cost is a 3.25. Okay. So let's suppose now they are saying it's 100% utilization. So if you will be executing a single query at a time, so you will get 100% sub-tree cost. You can say query cost completely. But let's suppose if I will add an additional one query with this query, you can say in same query window, and if I will paste, try to like go with a star condition. Okay, I'm trying to execute with execution plan, and you will see two part of query. So you can see first query is a 86%, and second query is taking 14%. So let's suppose your store procedure, store procedure going with, you can say, have a multiple SQL statement, and multiple SQL statement they are trying to execute. So how you can focus which query I have to go for the twinning. So basically on basis of query cost, like it's a 14 they are saying, and here is just 86. It means first query is a high priority for me because we have a 86% utilization in between two query. So we have to go and check on basis of index scan, we have to convert into the index 6 if possible. And if your table is a very small, just like a product category, product table, so basically it's a master table. So whatever you will, if you will create a indexes, you will not get much differences. Basically, your query will convert it into the SQL, but you will get a same performance. So sometimes we have to ignore index scale. Like if your table holding a 1000 less than 1000 of record, so you have to ignore, don't create a indexes, because if you create a indexes, it means you are increasing your writing updating performance. So over the OLTP environment, don't create like a non-cluster index on the master table, and those number of record is less than 100. But if you are using a, you can say, reporting server, so over the reporting server you can create how many, like on basis of your expectation, you can create a maximum indexes. So you'll get a better performance because mostly you have to read a data from the reporting server. But OLTP environment, online transaction processing, basically you are doing a both operation: insert, update, delete, all. So for that case, please try to ignore non-cluster index over the, you can say. So here they are suggesting we have to go for the missing index, and you will get a 16% of impact. So if I'm skipping this, let me comment. And if I will trying to execute this same query, so now they are saying out of 100%, you will get an improvement of 60. So if you can see your software cost is a 3.25, so that will be reduced. And second, after cash plan, second estimated subtree cost percentage, and second is degree of parallelism. They are saying by default 0. It means this query is not going with a parallel processing. So let's suppose your query is like a subtree cost is a 3, and you want to go for the parallel processing. So on basis of your CDP value, if you can check your SP configuration, or if you can go with a server, you can say property, you will get those details. So let me filter out one DOP. So I'm filtering DOP degree. Okay, let me try to search this. Okay, so here is run value is a 4. You you know what is a run value for max degree of parallelism? Do you have ARIA? over the max degree of parallelism.
Yes, how much CPU this query will be used? Course.
Okay, so basically, let's suppose your query qualify for the parallel processing. So in a parallel processing, how many maximum CPU they can utilize? So basically, its value is a 4. One another parameter is also there. It's a degree and max cost. Let me filter out with a cost. So we'll get a more detail. Okay. So here is a cost threshold value. So do you have idea over this value, run value, cost threshold parallelism? So basically, what is a threshold for the, you can say, parallelism? So cost threshold is a 5. It means if your query subtree cost is 5 or more than 5, then your query will follow parallelism. And parallelism value, we already explained, it's a 4 only. It means by default, when we are installing your SQL Server, so how much CPU configured with your instance, they will automatically update those values. So for my case, virtual core is 4 degree. So that's why they are providing, you can say, 4 only. So if I can execute both a statement at a time. So basically both statement have a correlation. So subtree cost 5, they will go for the 4 maximum degree. If like let's suppose I mention this. So what is mostly happening on the production server? When they are installing a SQL server, they are going like let's suppose you have a course count is a 64 or 32 or 16. So at the time of installation, they will pick up whatever value are there. So it means after installation, you have to change. So if I configure with a 4, it means my SQL will utilize all of the memory. Means total memory, you can say total CPU is a 4. It means total CPU used by the SQL server. So for this like a scenario, what we have to do, minimum 2 CPU you have to exclude for the operating system so that you'll get a good performance. Otherwise, each and every time they will like each and every time CPU utilization will go 100%. So for the configuration purpose, what you have to do, you have to go like for my case, I will go with a 3 only because one CPU I'm assigning to operating system so that at the time of worst case, what will happen? Worst case, they will start utilizing, you can say, maximum 75% of CPU. It means 25% available for SQL, you can say window processing. Okay, so same configuration you have to assign on basis of your load. Let's suppose you have a Symantec antivirus and they need minimum 4 core of CPU for the execution of Symantec. So for that case, you have to go with a like a 6 because 4 core required for the Symantec and 2 core for the window. It means if you have a 16 core, so you have to assign maximum 10 degree of parallelism for your SQL instance. So same case, you have to try those. Okay. And table scan, nested loop, key RID lookup, I already explained into the previous. Missing index detail. So basically, we have a one DMB called sys dot start from sys dot dm underscore db underscore missing index detail. With help of this DMB, you will get your missing index. Okay, index you suggested. Sorry, I'm saying different. index usage states. So on basis of usage, we can decide this index is using or not. Okay. So let's suppose I'm saying I created a third indexes and they are not using for the seek. They are using for only a scan. In some cases, you'll get all plus some value is less than that. Like if I can go with any query, so they are saying going with a seek. Some cases they are going with a scan. So if we can sum up all these value, let me go with this and add this all value. Let me try to add. It means how much scanning we are, how much looking up our data is greater than, let's suppose I'm saying like it's less than 5. So it means whatever index is here, these indexes in this object we are using. Otherwise, if I'm going with a less than, so minimally we are using our indexes. Some cases we are not seeking a data. Here is a seeking data. It means we have to exclude like equal to 0 and sum of this less than this criteria. So it means whatever indexes they created here, these are table, these are index ID. So seek is not happening. We are not using more. And scan is lookup is happening. Okay. So it means seek is not happening. We have to delete this index. This index are not useful for us. So we have to check those indexes. So on basis of this state, index uses state you got to know. And also they mention what time last scan. Let's suppose 1 year before I scan, 1 year before I seek, I didn't seek my data. So it means we are not using my indexes, whatever indexes is there. And if I'm saying plus and going with a greater than 5, you can see last seek is a 2010 2024. It means latest date is seek. If this mention 2000 like 22, 23. It means now we are not using, now we are not seeking a data with help of these indexes. So for this case also, we can say this index is not useful for us. So you have to consider this point also, like when I seek data, when I seek user scan the data and look up data. So this parameter will help you to tune your performance. Second, last time I explained, like let's suppose how we got to know which query is running, like running long. So with the help of extended event or SQL profiler, I already explained. If you want, I can recap those. So Agnivation, do you want to recap this part like capturing a query, those execution is high on basis of long running. Like let's suppose your baseline or threshold is at 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So basically, you have to capture SQL complete a statement, SQL statement completed. And in duration, you have to add a filter more than 10 minutes or 10 seconds, whatever value you want. Let's suppose you are saying you are getting like your user is saying like a customer is saying, my query is running more than 5 minutes. So you have to add 5 minutes here, nothing else. In a same SQL profiler as well as extended event. But I already explained like a extended event is a very lighter comparatively SQL profiler. So mainly you have to go for this extended event to capture this detail. Okay. So if you want, I can recap, I can add on basis of. your expectation?
Actually, you have told us before in past year, but we should try to ourselves to do this. If
Okay,
you, yes,
okay, you can go through also whatever like a video I uploaded, you can go through. So basically, you have to keep in your mind, you have to add a filter over the duration attributes on and duration should be in a microsecond basically, not a millisecond. Okay. So you have to convert your minute or second into the microsecond and place those value into the filter condition. That's it. Next, dynamic management view. How we can find out like which query need to optimize basically. So in a query state, let me copy a state forward this query. Which type of information they are providing here. So mainly you have to keep in your mind very straightforward. You have to convert query. Here is a procedure and here is a function. Only you have to change this part and you will get all the detail of execution. And which key attribute you have to keep in your mind. So first one is the query. Here you can see how many execution. So let's suppose I'm calling one query rapidly. So what we have to do, you have to go with a maximum count and you have to tune those query first. Because if I'm calling concurrent, multiple frequent call is coming from the application, it means those queries are very important for you. So you have to figure out and let's suppose those query execution is of 1 second and if you are getting like a last execution detail is also there, last elapse. If you can go for the total elapse, here is a last elapse. So initially got execution is of 10 second and now it's running with like a near about 50 seconds. So you have to go with this value, last elapse value, and you have to tune whatever query. So basically you will pass your SQL handle to your SQL tags and you will get your query detail. And those query need to tune and those query you have to send to application DBA. And if you are capable to tune those query, you have to start tuning those. Same case for procedure also. So let's suppose these are procedures and these procedures, you can say its execution count is there because recently I installed the SQL instance. So basically we are not getting a more statistic. So one basis of execution, total worker time, basically how much time they are taking for the execution. So if you know I'm executing a one time, it's a ad hoc query and execution is a very long. So please don't go for the tuning of a specific procedure. Let's suppose I'm saying execution count is one and total worker time is this. So we have to ignore those. But if I'm calling rapidly this procedure, it means you have to focus to tune this procedure because application is using this like a procedure frequently fashion. And you have to check, you can say total elapse and elapsed time, minimum elapsed detail. So on basis of minimum and maximum, you can figure out minimum execution is 124 and last is 124. It means initial and two-day execution is same. But if you are getting a more differences, if you can go with this parameter, minimum is this and maximum this, it means this processor need to tune because lot difference it in between two-day execution and yesterday you can say previous execution. So you have to go through this. And one another point I want to share here. Here is a logical rate. Okay. So you have to go with this parameter also. Logical read and physical read and write is also there. So if you are reading a data from the disk, those part is also causal for the performance basically. So you have to go through with a logical read and minimum maximum they are mentioning. Here is a minimum, here is a maximum. It means some cases, whatever like a you can say cache are there. So basically you have to check with a page PLE basically, page level expectancy. So how much time your like a data is available into the cache. So those part you have to check. Next, request you already know how much time required for the execution of any query. You can go through with this information. Which request is going on basis of request, you'll get to know how much completion percentage is also there. If we can go with, let me check, completion percentage. So basically you'll get to know how much query percentage, like a percentage completed. Okay. So these key, you can say, parameter you have to keep in your mind while optimizing any query. Same for the session. So whatever running session, or you can say suspended session, each session detail you will capture from this part. So basically you will get a session detail from there. Sleeping session, suspended session, runnable session, all the session. What is the last request time detail? You have to go through. Here is also mentioned total elapsed schedule time and total elapsed time. So all information they will provide. What is the login timing of those session basically? So you have to go through and check initial logging timing, which application they are, which interface program they are using, which host, which user is trying to connect to your database instance. So all detail you can capture from this session. So mainly I have for the like if you want to go with any like a performance counter, perf monitor. So basically you have to open your like you have to go with a window R and you have to type like a perf mon. So perf mon is a exe file and those exe file will provide your detail on in a graphical fashion. So you have to click performance monitor and here whatever log is showing by default. So basically it's a local log they are explaining to us. But if you want to go with a different server, you have to click here plus and select your computer, select your server, which server you want to browse basically. So here is mentioned local, but if you want to browse, okay, you can browse your server and your server should be part of Active Directory so that you can select your Active Directory, find your server and start debugging. And if we have a multiple server, we have to select your server. And let's suppose I have to go for the disk. Okay. So here is a parameter called physical disk. You can go. This is a parameter. So with help of this, you can say counter, you got to know what is a, like a disk, you can say read and write detail basically. How much they are reading and how much they are writing. So you have to select your counters like a disk read, disk write, average disk read and average disk write on basis of your utilization. Let's suppose I have to go for the SQL, a statistic SQL parameter. So you have to search your SQL server. Here is a SQL server. If you want to go for the SQL server as statistic detail or whatever like a parameter, buffer detail, buffer manager. So basically you'll get to know like a buffer hit. I said like a buffer cache heat ratio basically. How much their data they are capturing from the cache and how much data they are capturing from the disk. So you can add this parameter if you want to go with a, like a compilation. So in a SQL server, mirroring all states are there. SQL server a statistic basically. SQL server a statistic. So you can search all the statistics are there. So you can find out which plan, like a which query plan, or you can say they are considering or not. So compilation and recompilation. You can add this and you can click here and you'll get you can say multiple parameter is listing below. You are able to see. So they already listed out what is like a which color is meaning of those. Okay. On basis of
Is that
utilization. Yep. Yeah. Tell me.
uh, it will take too much cost of CPU or not?
Performance monitor basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, they will consume a high memory and high CPU.
So most of the companies allowed this mechanism or not, like
So
performance monitor.
yeah, initially they are allowing that time you can say SQL profile over there. But now you can capture all the detail from the extended event. So no need to go
Events.
with. But initially, when SQL profiler is high peak, so they are using both SQL profiler as well as performance monitor perpmon basically. But basically, my suggestion you can go through with a extended event. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So on basis of your like a whatever like a key point you want to focus, and you can create your pop monitor. You can save those data. For evidence, you can show with a management because this is a graphical representation. Something like if you are using a Azure Azure, you can say virtual machine. So basically, we have a monitor, and monitor is just showing in a graphical representation. So if you want a GUID, you can go through with this. But if your server is a part of any cloud, so you can capture from there also. What time CPU consumption is high, what time read and write is high, how much data they are capturing from the disk and how much they are capturing from the cache only. So all the information you can capture. And those screenshot you can share with the management basically. Missing index detail, you know how we can figure out. Here is a missing index detail. DMB is there. One another point I want to highlight. On basis of your application user or user feedback, you have to decide how much like your query or procedure is performing well or not. So basically, it's depend on the user feedback. Like just like your machine room, they are asking, we are not getting a performance, CPU utilization very high. So basically, you are checking those. So on basis of user feedback, you have to rely some cases. And one another case basically will cover after completion of performance, how you can capture all the statistic in a DBA database. When you will be going for the other company, you have to set up your DBA database, and that database will help lot more to capture those details like initial execution and current execution, everyday execution they will capture. And you have to go with you have to create a Power BI report on basis of trend. How much initially they are like executing, and now what is the execution timing? On basis of that, you can go to tune those query. So basically, these major point basically you have to cover to optimize whatever query, whatever procedure you need to do. Okay. So in a next class, we can go with whatever query you have. And I also cover all these are very small, you can say query. Okay. So please join with the next class and we'll try to cover those points.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.